Looking back at my life, I can clearly see the moment everything changed. I was 15 when my parents told me they were getting a divorce. It was a quiet evening, just the three of us sitting in our small but cozy living room. There was no shouting, no anger, just a simple conversation. My parents calmly explained that they had grown apart and wanted different things in life. Maybe because of how maturely they handled it, or maybe because I had already noticed the small signs: fewer family dinners, conversations that felt forced, the way they seemed more like roommates than a married couple. I accepted the news without much shock. After the divorce, my father moved into a nice apartment across town, but not much changed between us. We still spent weekends together watching old sci-fi movies and eating pizza. Life continued smoothly for about a year until my mother made an announcement over breakfast. She had met someone new, a man named Gabriel. He had a 9-year-old daughter, Amara. My mother was so happy, and at first, I thought having a little sister might be nice. But reality turned out differently. Not long after my mother and Gabriel got married, they moved in with us. At first, everything seemed fine. Amara was always polite and well-behaved around adults, but when they weren't looking, she was a different person. Small, annoying things started happening. My favorite sweater was ruined in the wash. My schoolwork had mysterious coffee stains, and little pranks seemed to always target me. If I brought it up, Gabriel brushed it off as childish mistakes, and my mother believed him. Gabriel wasn't much better. He often made small, cutting remarks about my clothes, my friends, and even my grades. When I tried to talk to my mother about it, she told me he was just looking out for me. I felt like my home was no longer my own. The final straw was my research project. I had spent weeks working on it, gathering data, and carefully organizing my notes. One day, I came home early and found Amara in my room. She was standing over my project, her hands covered in green marker ink. My work was ruined. I was furious. I grabbed her by the wrist and dragged her downstairs to face our parents. I pointed at my destroyed project and demanded justice. Instead, Gabriel jumped to Amara's defense, scolding me and calling me foolish for overreacting. My mother just stood there, silent. She didn't defend me. She didn't even seem upset about my hard work being destroyed. That was the moment I knew I couldn't stay there any longer. That night, I packed a bag and called my dad. He didn't hesitate. Within minutes, he was on his way to pick me up. As I carried my things outside, my mother stood in the doorway, asking me not to overreact. But I wasn't overreacting. I told her how hurt I was, how abandoned I felt. She said nothing. I got into my dad's truck, and we drove away. When I told my dad everything, he was furious, especially about Gabriel's insults. The next day, he stormed into Gabriel's office to confront him. I waited in the truck, watching through the window as they argued. My dad was pointing, his face red with anger. Gabriel tried to argue back, but security had to step in before things escalated further. Living with my dad was a relief. For the first time in a long while, I felt safe. I focused on school, and my dad helped me redo my research project, staying up late with me, bringing snacks and coffee to keep me going. It wasn't perfect, but it was home. A few days later, my mom sent me a message. She accused me of turning my dad against Gabriel, of tearing the family apart. I didn't reply. What family was she talking about? The one where I was mistreated and ignored? Instead, I focused on finishing my senior year strong. At graduation, my dad and grandma sat in the front row, cheering proudly. My mother was there too, with Gabriel and Amara, but I barely acknowledged them. After the ceremony, my grandma hugged me tightly and told me that she and my dad had been saving for my college tuition. Thanks to them, I was able to start fresh. College was a new beginning. I moved into the dorms and worked hard. A few months into my sophomore year, my mom reached out again. She apologized and wanted to talk. We met at a cafe near campus. The conversation was awkward, long pauses, stirring our coffee too much. She talked about Gabriel and Amara, but I steered the conversation toward safer topics, like my classes and future plans. From then on, we met for coffee once a month, keeping things polite but distant. After graduation, I got a job at Marshall Associates as a junior project manager. My dad was proud and offered me a place at his apartment to save money, but I decided it was time to be independent. I found a small apartment near work. The first night there, eating takeout on a second-hand couch, I felt truly like an adult. I was careful with my money, saving most of my paycheck instead of going out. When a difficult project came up at work, I volunteered. 5 months later, I completed it ahead of schedule, impressing my boss and earning a bonus. Over the years, I built up my savings. My colleagues teased me for being frugal, skipping outings, and focusing on the future. Even my mother commented during one of our coffee meetings, "You should enjoy life more," she said. "I am enjoying life," I replied. "I'm building my future." Family gatherings were the hardest. Thanksgiving and Christmas meant seeing Gabriel and Amara. Amara had grown into a polished version of her younger self, but the smug looks and condescending remarks remained. Gabriel still made passive-aggressive comments about my job, downplaying my success. Last Thanksgiving, my mom cornered me in the kitchen. "Bella, don't you think it's time to move on? Amara has grown up, Gabriel has mellowed, can't we just be a family?" I shut the fridge a little too hard. "We're not a family, Mom, we're just connected by your marriage." She sighed. "You're being childish." I met her gaze. People change. I've changed, and I don't need toxic people in my life, even if they're related to me. She didn't argue, she just shook her head and walked away. On my 30th birthday, all my years of saving paid off. I put down 70% on a house, my own home. "Congratulations, Miss Parker," the realtor said, handing me the keys. For my housewarming party, I invited close friends and family. When I called my mom, I made one thing clear: "I'd love for you to come, just you." She hesitated. "Bella, that's not fair to Gabriel and Amara." "It's my house, my rules," I said firmly. She reluctantly agreed, but on the day of the party, she arrived with Gabriel and Amara. "Surprise," she said weakly when she saw the look on my face. I held back my frustration and let them in, but the boundaries I had set remained firm. This was my home, my future, and I was in control now. I had always loved my plants. I spent so much time caring for them, making sure they were healthy and happy. I had delicate orchids that needed just the right amount of sunlight, peace lilies that had to be watered carefully, and a rare bird of paradise that had finally started to bloom. They weren't just decorations, they were like my little green family. The idea of leaving them alone for months worried me. I didn't want all my hard work to go to waste. After thinking about it a lot, I realized I needed help. There was only one person I could ask: my mom. Even though things had been tense between us since the last time we spoke, I hoped she would understand. I got into my car and drove to her house. When I knocked on the door, she looked surprised to see me. "Bella, is everything okay?" I took a deep breath and stepped inside as she led me to the kitchen. "I need a favor. I have to go to New York for a few months for work. Can you take care of my house? Mostly my plants, they need regular attention." Her face lit up at the mention of gardening. "Of course, you know I love plants. I'd be happy to help." Relieved, I handed her the spare keys and a list of instructions for each plant. I told her how much water they needed, when to rotate them for sunlight, and which ones needed extra care. With everything settled, I felt better about leaving. New York was exhausting but rewarding. I worked long hours, managing a team spread across different time zones. It was stressful, but I felt proud of what I was accomplishing. Every week, I called Mom to check on the house. "Everything's fine," she would say. "Your plants are thriving. Don't worry, just focus on your work." I trusted her. I should have noticed the little things, the background noises of movement, the way she always answered from inside my house, but I was too busy to think about it. 3 months later, the project was finally finished. I was exhausted but proud. All I wanted was to go home, take a hot shower, and sleep in my own bed. It was nearly midnight when I arrived. I stepped up to my door, reached for my key, and slid it into the lock. It didn't turn. Frowning, I tried again. The key wouldn't fit. Confused and suddenly alert, I tried jiggling the doorknob. That's when I heard it, footsteps inside. Someone was in my house. My heart pounded as I reached for my phone, ready to call 911. Just as I was about to dial, the door suddenly swung open. There, standing in my doorway as if she belonged there, was Amara. She was dressed in pajamas, her blonde hair tied up in a messy bun. She leaned against the doorframe, looking completely at ease. "What are you doing here?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. Amara smirked. "What am I doing here? Living, obviously. Been here for weeks now. Daddy helped me move in while you were off playing businesswoman in New York." My exhaustion vanished. My hands clenched into fists. This is my house, I said, my voice shaking with anger. Get out, now. She barely glanced at me, instead looking at her nails. Yeah, that's not happening. I'm pretty comfortable here. Oh, and the master bathroom? The water pressure is amazing. I could feel my blood boiling. Get out. She laughed, actually laughed. Then she slammed the door in my face and locked it. For a moment, I stood there, stunned. I looked around at my garden, the soft glow of the outdoor lights making everything seem almost peaceful. But through the window, I saw the truth. Her things were everywhere. Her jacket on my couch, her shoes on my floor. My home wasn't mine anymore. Hands shaking, I grabbed my phone and called Mom. She answered on the third ring, her voice groggy from sleep. Bella, what's wrong? What's wrong? My voice rose in fury. I just got home to find Amara living in my house. She says she's been here for weeks. Tell her to get out, or I'm calling the police. No, don't call the police. Mom suddenly sounded wide awake. We're coming over. Just wait there. Where else am I supposed to go? I'm locked out of my own house. The next 30 minutes were torture. I paced the front porch, my heart pounding. The neighborhood was quiet, but I felt like everyone could see what was happening. Finally, my mom's car pulled up. Gabriel was driving. They both got out, still in their pajamas. What is going on? I demanded. Why does Amara have keys to my house? Mom looked nervous. Bella, honey, Amara needed a place to stay. Her lease ended, and she couldn't afford the new rent. Your house was empty, so we thought. I cut her off. You were supposed to water my plants, not move someone in. Gabriel stepped forward, his expression smug. There was no point in telling you. You would have just said no. Of course, I would have said no. It's my house. The locks needed changing anyway. He shrugged. It's done now. Amara's staying. I took a deep breath, trying to stay calm. Get her out, I said in a low voice. Now, or I'm calling the police. Gabriel smirked. You're being dramatic. The house is too big for just you. She needed a place. It's not a big deal. Mom reached for my arm. Bella, please, if you call the police, that's it. I won't speak to you again. Do you really want to break this family apart? I stared at her. This family? You mean the one where your husband stole my house? That family? She didn't answer. Instead, she and Gabriel turned away, walking back inside my home. The door shut behind them, locking me out once again. I looked down at my phone, my hands steadier than before. No more hesitation. I dialed 911. I need to report an illegal occupancy. Someone changed the locks on my house and moved in without my permission.